Hello everybody and welcome back to Appalachian Bonsai. Been a while. Audio for this is going to be just a little bit weird and bouncy because I'm in a small room. There's no sound insulation here. Today I'm going to be working on this Eastern White Pine. This is a Pinus strobus that I collected 4 or 5 years ago. I have not done any pruning and training on this tree other than a few guy wires to bring some branches down. It was repotted this last year, this last growing season, 2022. And now I'm going to go ahead and start thinning it out and wiring it and styling it some in preparation for the coming years. Let's get started. Just wanted to show y'all real quick. This is a Eastern White Pine, Pinus strobus, and you don't think that you can get needles that small. Normally they're this big, right? But this is the size that you can get with good genetics, which this tree certainly had. A lot of ramification, and also some needle reduction techniques by my friend Julian Adams. Zoom out a little bit. Called Growing Pines, that he has put out. He's not a sponsor of this this video, but y'all can order that off adamsbonsai.com. Speaking of sponsors, let's go ahead and talk about today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is Wazakura. WazakuraJapan.com. Really nice handmade tools. I really do appreciate their sponsorship. You can get 10% off of their tools by going to WazakuraJapan.com and using promo code APPLE as an Appalachian Bonsai. Yeah, fantastic. Handmade in Japan. Super sharp. I've been really pleased with these over the last couple of months. Ordering from them and using the promo code helps this YouTube channel. So please go ahead and get you some nice tools. Why not? They're awesome. Thank you, WazakuraJapan.com. Let's get back to this thing. So there it is, folks, for now. Finished up wiring last night. We got today to look at it. There's a little bit more light outside this window. I'm pleased with the work done today, though it is not over. In fact, I would like to remove these two branches, this long one here, and this one right here, which you might be able to see in the camera. The reason being is that even though this is spaced out well, this tree still looks very juvenile. And I don't want it to be. I want it to look a little bit older. I don't like the way that these lower branches are just folded flat. It might fill in, but you'll still see when you get up close to it. In order to make this have a little bit more maturity, with this diameter trunk, I need to bring the foliage in tighter to the trunk. Difficult to do on an eastern white pine. So with that in mind, I'd like to remove these two branches and bring the rest of the foliage down. It'll look more like a short leaf pine, which I have a really nice example outside. That short leaf pine has got some nice twisted funky branches, so this would not be out of the ordinary. That's my intention in the future. I'm not going to do any more work on it today, not for at least another year. And the reason being is that I've removed about 30% of the foliage mass. I've severely weakened the tree by doing that, and I don't want to weaken it anymore. I want it to grow as strong and healthy as it can with what it has, and being as flexible as these branches are, even if they lignify a little bit, I'll still be able to bend them into place next year. We'll look at that next year, and I'll make sure to get an update for you. So this is a Japanese black pine. This was given to me, not in the best of conditions. You can see it's got a bunch of dead stuff here. I am going to be just removing this dead stuff, cleaning up the needles a little bit, and getting this thing ready for spring. Clean up all these dead needles. Alright, that's pretty much all I'm doing to this thing. There's a lot of branching buds that have happened right here. It's going to make this little cluster. This should be removed in the future. Everything that's happening down here is really what you're wanting to keep. You just want this thing to grow and allow this trunk to get bigger. Right now it's about 3/4 of an inch in diameter at the base. Once this thing gets a little fatter, then all of this that's down here, all of this small branching, this is what's going to be used for bonsai. It's hard to see down in there with the lip of this pot, but we're looking at about 2 inches below this right here, and then all of this would be what is usable for a future bonsai design. This pine here, I was told it's a Japanese black pine, and it does react like a Japanese black pine, but the needles are telling me and the buds are telling me that this is a Virginia pine, which is another type of 2 or 3 needle pine. Yeah, the color of the needles, the twisty curlicue of the needles, the bark of it at the age that it is, this is all indicating to me that this is a Virginia pine, Pinus virginiana, versus a Japanese black pine. 2 years ago I did some needle reduction techniques, and so you can see how small this can be. Last year I'll just let it grow, no needle work done, and you can see what happens when you just let it grow and fertilize it well. The top of this has a very strong cluster of needles, which you may be able to see around my fingers. This was just done whenever I had done some heavy pruning on the backside. These can be removed. You can see these 3 branches right here. I have this large one here, this large one here, and I have this little small one right there. There's a bud right there that can be promoted. Get those out of the way. There's also one off to your bottom right hand side, if I can move these out of the way, that can be promoted to grow. If I allowed all of this to grow at one time, we're just going to get a big knot right around this side, right there. So I want this to change some direction, but we need to remove some things. So this trunk is straight as an arrow. I should be able to get this compressed with a little bit of a bend in it. That's not going to happen right now because I don't have the tool to do it with. But debating whether or not to allow this to continue growing in this direction, so we have a little bit of a change in movement, or allowing it to grow more strongly in this direction, which I think is going to be much more dynamic and much better. This could become what you might call a primary branch or first branch. This top section right there could be promoted up, and on and on and on we go. And I think that's what I am going to be doing here. When you're wiring from, say, branch to branch, I'm going to wire from this long branch here to this long branch here. Go ahead and cut some wire to those lengths and a little bit longer. You see I got plenty of extra on either end. And what you can do is you can wrap it once or twice around a branch just to anchor it, and then you can come through and wire all the way to the end, to the tip. And once that is completed on this end, then you can finish the wrapping on the back end. So that has been wrapped twice around that branch there. So it's anchored. That way I can work a little bit more easily here. I'm going to avoid this one single bud up front because I'd like to promote that some more. You turn this around toward me. Makes it a little easier for me, maybe not so much for you. I'm going to remove this back branch right here. We have this one little bud that I'm going to promote right here, and this will be allowed to grow into our first pad. I can go ahead and bend this up. Maybe if I can twist this a little bit. Twisting this will allow this small bud here to be more vertically oriented, allowing it to get more sun. Go. This is the one I'm going to promote to continue growing further up. So let me wire that. You may have noticed that I've bent these two pieces of wire around back toward the branch. This gives me a little bit of a handle that I can grab a hold on to and manipulate. Same with this back one over here. You have these little sharp end cuts, and sometimes bending those back up and having control is not as easy, so when you bend it back around on itself at a reasonable place, these allow you to grab a hold of something and then you can shift it up, if that makes sense. I'm going to decrease this cluster over here. There we go. This one. And that should allow this to develop, hoping specifically for that one to develop. I've only loosely wired this one in because it's a smaller branch. It has the potential to grow strongly. I don't want this to have too much wire bite. I'm just kind of getting this into shape a little bit. This may become a future branch. This is just, the beginning. There are many, many years for this thing to be developed some more. It was repotted last year. It could probably go into a bigger pot to allow this thing to grow. But for right now, we're just leaving it alone since I've just done all this work. Maybe in the fall time I'll give it a repot. So this is a little Shimpaku Juniper. I've had this thing a number of years. It was much taller at one point in time, and it had some good back budding that had occurred, and I've since allowed that thing to grow. So I've had this thing for a dozen years or so. This thing is needing a little bit of work. It's been, I wouldn't say neglected, it just hasn't been worked in a while. I do make sure that this thing is watered, it's fertilized, and it's cared for with good sunshine, etc. I've cleaned up the base which had a lot of mulch from its winter bed. And I've already started to go ahead and clean up a few of these dead ends, which has occurred, I think, because of spider mites or old age, but we're getting in there to clean it up right now. So let's go ahead and do that, and then maybe we can look at pruning it up and wiring some. Alright, well that's pretty well cleaned up. I hope that you have enjoyed this video of a few trees that needed some winter work done. Like and subscribe because there's always more to come. Thanks for watching.